The travel in a foreign country made by the US president is not a coffee or tea party in the neighbor's house. Diplomats and politicians all know that it needs at least 6 months or 1 year to accomplish all necessary preparations before the travel, security and logistic, speech and reception, common communique and agreement to be signed. Thousands of diligent civil servants work hard for many months for a 24 hours or 48 hours visit. If you like statistics, you may be surprised that all US presidents from Bill Clinton to the current President Joe Biden have visited Vietnam without exceptional cases, and a natural question is why a very distant country, having few petrol or rich in mineral, can draw the interests of a superpower situated 1,000 miles far from them. In this episode we introduce to you the visit of all US presidents in Vietnam and explain to you why the two countries, once enemies but now become strategic partners, phenomena never seen in diplomatic ties in modern times. For most American people of 50 or 60 years old, the word Vietnam reminds them of a long and brutal war, causing 100,000 died American soldiers and million Vietnamese orphans. For others, this war looks like a Hollywood movie with American heroes in helicopters fighting against Vietnamese guerrillas working the day on the water rice field and attack them on the night by AK gun and Soviet grenades. Few know that the last American soldier withdrew from Vietnam on March 1973, and the two countries have normalized the relation on July 1995, opening a new chapter in the history of two nations. On November 2000, President Bill Clinton paid the first official visit as a US president to Vietnam. More precisely, before him, President Nixon paid a 5-hour and unexpected visit to the South Vietnam to talk with the South Vietnam President Nguyen Van Thieu to withdraw more American soldiers from Vietnam. We can say that the visit by Clinton is the first visit after war between the two nations. It is not doubtful that without the decision of relation normalization by the President Clinton, the relationship Vietnam-US cannot as good as we see today. After President Clinton's visit, President George Bush paid the second presidential a 4-day visit to Vietnam in the framework of APEC summit held on July 2006 in Hanoi. President Bush was surprised by the hospitality and friendliness that Vietnamese people reserved to him. He said he was pleased that the children of the Prime Minister were studying in US. He played an important role in supporting Vietnam to joining the World Trade Organization in the same year. In 2016, President Barack Obama paid the fourth visit to Vietnam, marking commemoration of the 20 years normalization of the bilateral ties. People said that he created a fever by his mass style when visited Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City and ate slippery noodle called bun cha in a popular restaurant in Hanoi with the famous chef de cuisine Anthony Bourdain. President Donald Trump have visited Vietnam twice, in 2017 in the framework of APEC and in 2019 for the second US-Korea summit aiming to improve the relations with the President. North Korea Kim Jong-un. Hanoi was chosen as meeting place with the hope that North Korea and the US will have the good relations as Vietnam and the US. Recently, on September 2023, President Joe Biden visited Vietnam to commemorate 10 years of the establishment of the strategic partnership of two countries and upgrade to the highest diplomatic level, the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Coming back to the question that we have raised at the beginning, why two countries once enemies but now become two friends, you will see it in the second part of our video clip, and that explained why all US presidents have successively visited Vietnam. Vietnam is a country located in Southeast Asia, which has a giant neighbor in the north, China. In feudal times, Vietnam was dominated 1,000 years by China. It is not like other Southeast Asia countries as Indonesia or the Philippines. This country has been permanently the object of influence scrambled by the foreign forces. Few know that in modern time Vietnam was invaded by France, England, Japan, US and China. History of Vietnam has proved that, after each war, the country is ready to forget all the wrongdoing and establish the relations in the new context. In fact, Vietnamese government and people have not a hostile policy or attitude with any invader aforementioned. Vietnam see the US market big opportunities for their cheap, labor-intensive goods and agricultural products. Vice versa, US can sell high-tech products to Vietnam such as electronic, aircraft, computer and medicine. Official statistics reveal that on the year 2022, the US has become the second commercial partner and the first export market of Vietnam. In the opposite way, Vietnam is also the eighth important commercial partner of the US. The import and export turnover of Vietnam to US in the same year reached more than $123 billion. One element that politicians or economists do not say, many countries' leaders, after the war, want to establish new relations with the occupants but they fail to do it because the people do not support them. In these countries, the national grudges last for many years or even decades. People in Western countries sometimes talk the dark side of Vietnamese character, speak loudly, not keep promise, eat dog meat, steal or cheat, something like that. We think that one strong point in the particularity that Vietnamese people own is to know to forgive. Many examples have illustrated this judgment. After the retreat of the France from Vietnam in 1954, the country has not had a hostile attitude against the France. The same thing has happened for Japan, China and US. To end the video clip, we think the famous song, "We Are the World," deserves to sing by Michael Jackson in Vietnam than in other countries, isn't it? When we hear a certain call, when the world must come together as one, there are people dying and it's time to lend a hand, to life the greatest gift of all.